One. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Woman's Cave. And nope, I lied. It's the writer's class. I forget. You know, when you have this many podcasts, you forget. It's like ladies' tale meeting, blah 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 blah, and you're like, oh yeah, that's the one. And you recognize at the end I said blah 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 because I forgot the title of the podcast. It is not named blah blah blah. And when I remember what it's named, I will tell you. Never mind. It's called And I Thought in the Writer's Class. There we go. What? Oh, my memory is improving. I'm sorry. And then y'all just saw me do a dance. And that's the last thing you needed for today. And if you went ahead and switched on over to another podcast, you're like, because I want to be serious. I understand now. Excuse me, sip of water. And no, I'm not drinking out of my own mug because I'm not Jay. You recognize when Jay drinks, she turns it around. It's like holding on each side, like my mug. Just reading by. No, I'm joking. Anyway, I'm Winona. Oh, good job for me. I remember to introduce myself, and here I am dancing again, but without the hands. See, it looks cooler when you just got the shoulders rocking. You're like, oh, well, she's on tempo. Okay, high five to me. Woohoo! But anyway, I occasionally get serious, and so does Jade, and we write books. Go figure. You came to a writer and authors interview podcast, and we write books. We have And I Thought Divorce Was Bad. Y'all, I'm rocking the old ancient one. This is the one from back in the day. That cover does not look like that at all anymore. And I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy. If Only I Were Me, a memoir. And first, Widow's Web, Widow's Dead, Foreign Coffee. And if you're counting, y'all, that's 6 whole books. You can get those wherever your audiobooks are found. Now, if you go to www.andithoughtladdies.com, and for those y'all who know that when I do it by myself, I got to go back and do it as a car salesman, I'm going to do it right after I finish saying this. After these messages, we'll be right back. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, you can go see the rest of the 11 books that we have written. And if you're going around with me and you're like, 6 and 11, yes, people, because you know I'm going to pull out the sign language, that equals 17 books. You can see all of those books on Now Here Comes the Car Salesman one, www.n.thoughtladies.com. Oh, I love doing that. One of the best.
That was awesome.
But you're not here to hear about me. You're here to hear about our wonderful guests. Wonderful guests. Hold on. Before I switch over to wonderful guests. Dang, I'm cute today. Wonderful guests. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I would love to. My name is Penny Sansevieri, and I am extremely fortunate to do what I love for a living. I'm a marketing and publicity person. I've had my business Author Marketing Experts for 21 years. I'm also the author of 18 books, including From Book to Bestseller, which was just released. And I don't know, I love what I do.
I might be a little jealous. You said 18 and I only have 17. So can you give me one of them titles? Okay, let me try to be serious. So let's start off. Oh my goodness, I'm actually going to start off with a correct question. I'm not going to start off about food or liquor or something weird. I'm going to start off with a correct question. This is weird. Feels wrong. How did you get started?
You know, quite accidentally, actually. I started as an author. So I was an author a billion years ago. I like to tell people I was in business before there was Facebook, which makes me sound super old. But I actually got laid off twice in 1 year. And the second time, a friend of mine, the day after I got laid off, the company closed. The second time, the first time the CEO got canned and the rest of us went with him. And the second time the company closed, and a friend of mine took me to breakfast the next day, and he said, "This is great. Now you can do what you were always meant to do." And I was hoping for a pity party, and instead I ended up starting this business. I was one of those accidental people. Like, I never planned to start a bit. I just thought, I really want to be an entrepreneur. That's what I always wanted to do. And 21 years later, here we are.
Oh no, I know a bit about accidents. Because since you're talking to the narcissist today, I'm going to talk about me.
That's awesome.
It also means the camera stays longer on these cheekbones. Girl, look at these. Okay, anyway. So no, I know we know a bit about accidents specifically because our brand, we had no desire to start a new business. And one of the authors that we wrote with the first book was like, hey, let's turn this into a brand. So we were like, for kicks and giggles for you, sweetheart, sure. 24 hours later, we had a brand. It's been a few years. Not 20, but it's been a few years and now we're here. So like, how do you take something that you accidentally fall into? This is a personal question. I'm not going to lie. You accidentally fall into, and then you go, okay, this is my serious thing. This is what I'm going to do for a living. And how do you turn it into a full-fledged business?
Well,
An intentional business.
Thank you. I spent a lot of time actually researching and learning the industry. So I didn't, and I love learning, like learning is my thing. Like if I could just learn and teach every day, I would love that. So I spent a lot of time reading, researching, looking at other people in the industry, but I also spent a lot of time focusing on how the industry was changing. Because I think that one of the first things that we did at the time that we started, self-publishing was really in its infancy. And I remember reading a tiny little article in the New York Times about this company at the time called Fat Brain. And Fat Brain was using this new technology called print on demand. And print on demand revolutionized the self-publishing industry. And I remember reading that and thinking, this is going to change the way that books are published. And indeed, Fat Brain became iUniverse, and all of these other companies morphed out of this. So, my suggestion, if you really have to spend time immersing yourself in the industry. And there were no other PR and marketing firms at the time that would work with an independently published author, because they were considered just, the ones who were never invited to the party, which was unfortunate. And I thought, I'm going to build a company that's dedicated to independently published authors. And, it was a gamble, and it paid off, because like I said, here we are 21. And now there are all kinds of companies that are, some of them are great and some of them are, it's a little crazy out there. It's a wild kingdom, as it were. But independent publishing, I mean, there are 4,500 books published every day in this country. At the time when I started, I think there were 500. So that kind of gives you an idea of how the industry just took off.
I definitely understand. I remember one of our friends who was in Hollywood decided that she was going to write a book, and she was like, all the time I've been in Hollywood, I didn't get scammed nearly as much as when I wrote my first book.
10,000%. Yes, absolutely.
And I was like, well, sweetie, you really got to know what you've been doing. And so I got published at 10, so I've been around for a minute. So it's like, yeah, that's the only reason that we hang out in the publishing world. Like, I feel her world is weird too, but
but it's really true. I mean, the publishing, and that's the thing that really, I get really burned. I mean, I get really mad at companies that try to take advantage of authors. That just fries me in ways that I can't even put into words. Yeah.
It feels unnecessary. We're taking a big risk as it is, and we're fronting it. So why do you need to make it a bigger risk?
It's unnecessary. Yeah. I remember years ago, I was working with this author, and he was retired and just investing all of his money in his book. And this literary agent came to him and said, for $750 a month, I will represent your book to publishers. And I said to him, I said, well, where's their incentive? Because a literary agent works until they sell your book, and that's how they get paid. But if you're new in the industry, that's what they prey on, which is really unfortunate.
So very, very, very true. So can you tell us the difference between marketing and public relations?
Yeah.
So publicity and marketing.
Right. So publicity is, if you're thinking about like getting on radio, getting on podcast, television, morning shows, local media, things like that. Marketing is running Amazon ads, right? Doing a Goodreads campaign, doing an ebook promotion. Marketing is a bit different, right? Doing a book event at a local bookstore is marketing, right? Publicity is, I mean, sometimes they refer to it as earned media. So when you get out and you start doing the media circuit, publicity is a lot harder. I mean, as you probably well know, the window for media is vicious. I mean, it's, the next thing that hits is just consuming everything, and the media runs with it. And to try and get in there is so I do, we do media, we do publicity, but I'm really selective about when I talk to an author about doing a big publicity campaign.
Can you talk to an author with an adorable black and white bow in her hair by doing a publicity campaign?
I couldn't hear you after you said bow. What did you? Because a bow is awesome.
Can you talk to an author about with the adorable bow in her hair how to do a publicity campaign? You know, you want.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. But what are 3 things that we should know? No, I'm gonna go with a different question. I apologize.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the question: what can you expect out of publicity, and what can you expect out of marketing to know that either of those are working?
The idea behind anything that you do that you put out there is getting in front of more readers, right? Publicity should get you in front of the right readers. And part of the reason why I say that I'm very selective about offering publicity now to authors is because reader demographics have changed. 20 years ago, there was more opportunity for an author to get on the Today Show, and they would actually sell books, right? So as opposed to that, I'm doing things like doing influencer pitching. We're doing other things. In terms of what you should expect, I mean, I think at the end of the day, any author doing publicity and marketing, whether they're working with a company or they're doing it on their own, you should be looking for exposure. If you're launching into publicity and marketing looking for ROI, you're looking for the wrong thing. Part of the reason for that is because exposure grows over time, and multiple impressions is the thing that gets you in front of more readers and then sells books. So you should always be looking for exposure to get in front of more readers. Does that make sense?
Oh no, that makes perfect sense to me. And when we're off of this, and if you have time, I will definitely talk about our personal experience. But
Sure.
This is about you, not about the narcissist. So again, another personal question, but how do you leverage having publicity to turn it into other opportunities? Not exactly personal. I think people should know.
No, and that's actually a really great question. So a lot of times what happens is that authors end up so they get these great opportunities and they get so starstruck by, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on CNN, or I'm going to be on whatever. I'm going to be on Good Morning America. And then they don't do anything with them, right? They kind of leave them and they evaporate anymore because we move so quickly. Any opportunity, I don't care whether it's a review, I don't care whether you're on a small local station, you have to maximize it, right? So share it on your social media, make sure to put it on your website, add a media room to your website. Go in and thank whoever did this interview with you, because that is now a relationship. And that's something that authors so often overlook. If you've been interviewed once, especially on a major network, you're very likely to get interviewed again. And if you have like you showed your book at the onset of this podcast, if you have an expertise in a particular area, there's a good opportunity that you'll get called back. So for example, the divorce, right? But the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp fiasco thing is a good opportunity to get out there. Again, people are so obsessed with that, right? I was reading, it was like one woman paid like $30,000 or something to sleep outside the courtroom. I don't understand it, but whatever. But when you've had one opportunity, that is now a relationship. So you want to stay in touch with that person. And I'm not necessarily saying, hey, everybody turned into a stalker, but, send them a thank you note. If something else pops up on your topic in the news, here is my take, because the media is always, always, always looking for experts. There are so many hidden opportunities for authors. The example, obviously, being this trial, right? Where the media is looking for experts, because typically, and this, if you watch a lot of news, a lot of times you hear the same thing over and over and over again. Sharing your take on it in a very different way is something that the media will jump onto. The other thing is too, local media is really often overlooked. It's kind of like authors feel like, oh, it's less glamorous, but a local spin on a national topic is a really, really great opportunity. And it's much easier to get your feet wet locally than to expect, the big morning shows to jump all over your story.
Okay, so I'm gonna do what I said I wasn't gonna do because I just talked to the lady from Books Forward, and we just ended up talking about like, oh my god, I love your point. Oh my god, I love your point. Oh my god, I love your point. It was just a conversation about, oh my god, I love your points.
Right.
And I was like, I'm not doing this time. I'm not doing this, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it. First of all, thank you. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna give myself props. I have a brain for twisting and turning and making things out of like an author will come to me and I'll be like, 15 minutes later, we have like 10 different ways that they can like now talk to like the media. And how I missed this opportunity with this divorce, I'm in utter shock.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm so thankful. Like, I literally have 3 different ways to do this now. Like emotional abuse, how your brain changes, the science behind it, and then how that science goes into regular everyday life. And then that all comes back to the book because we all have poems about how this affected. So like, this is amazing. Or how a relationship could escalate to this point without anyone saying anything. Again, all inside of our book. And now if you're watching this and you have a book on divorce, I just gave you 3 free ways to pitch the media. Don't you do it before I do it.
And keep in mind that now this is the last week of the trial. So this jury could be out, they could be out for an hour, but they could be out for 2 weeks. So that, and the media is going to be, especially when they're not making news every day like they are now with some of these ridiculous, weird things where you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe people live like that. They're really going to be looking for stories now, especially. So it's a really, really good time to get out there. Yeah.
And the window is going to be closing, as she said, very soon.
Very, very soon. So I would jump on it. Yeah.
Definitely. So I want you to know, as soon as I get off of this, I'm creating my pitch letters. And I have over 1,000 and some media contacts. So guess what, y'all, if you're listening, you know who's in your inbox.
That's awesome.
So the other thing that you said that I really was like, oh my goodness, I love this, was when you were talking about local media. And the thing is, like, if you come onto a local media station and you did a good job, it's easier to stay in contact with that person than it is to stay in contact with somebody at like Good Morning America. It's possible, but it feels a little stalkerish if you do that one for national level. It feels like a friendship if you're doing it local. And don't do it every week. Do it every, like, I would go like when it changes from like spring to summer, maybe do summer. Well, if you know that person likes to ski, just be like, hey, y'all ready for your ski trip?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because the media also, keep in mind too, that the media also, I mean, and I know I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but they move around a lot. So I knew somebody who was covering O.J. Simpson in the White Bronco at a local station in Los Angeles, who bebopped around and wound up working at CNN now, right? So these local people are gold. And especially if you're in a top 30 media market. And if you're not familiar with that, you can look up top 30 media markets and find the list, because if you're in a top 30 media market, there's a chance that your local story could make it to national.
So like, let me explain. So if you're in like New York or DC, or in Los Angeles, you're golden.
Atlanta,
Yep. There you go. You're golden.
Yeah.
Definitely go after the local people. You're golden.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get back to like actual marketing, because I love talking about publicity, and you know, I'll go down the publicity hole for forever. But you mentioned about marketing, and I remember someone said that publicity is something you pray for and marketing is something you pay for. So what can we expect to be paying for in marketing, like at different levels?
Well, I mean, I think that marketing is, I mean, if you're paying to hire a company to do the marketing for you, right? But in terms of marketing, I mean, there's a lot of, because I get this question a lot. They're like, oh, everything is so expensive. Absolutely. It does cost to get yourself out there, but there's a lot of free stuff too. And authors so often forget how important their Amazon book page is, right? So Amazon just released, I think maybe it's the last 2 months, 2 or 3 months, maybe, where any author can do A+ content, right? On their book. A+ content is a great way to keep readers on your book page longer, right? And A+ content, without doing a screen share and getting into this whole like, oh, I have a PowerPoint. If you're scrolling down a book page and you see imagery and wording right on that book page, that's A+ content. It's fantastic for expanding on your topic, adding reviews, things like that to keep the readers longer. If A+ content sounds intimidating to you, your Amazon book page is when an author tells me that they're running ads, Facebook, Amazon, whatever, and their ads are not selling books, it's probably their Amazon book page. Could also be their cover, but it's probably their Amazon book page that's problematic. So there's a lot of stuff. Your Amazon Author Central authors often almost always overlook.
Sorry, could you say that again?
My Siri's trying to dig into this interview. Amazon book page, authors often always, our Author Central, they often overlook that. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do. I like to call it small steps, big results, because readers really pay attention to details, right? They pay attention to details. And when you overlook the details, it kind of looks like you didn't really show up for your own party.
Thank you. That is a great point to have. So we talked about the Amazon pages, and I had a thought in my head, and the moment you said details, it took off.
Yeah, I know. I've had that.
Pay attention to the details, and it just ran. Escaped from the corral of thoughts. And if you ever read my books, you will hear that over again in each book. It escaped from the corral of thoughts.
That's a great term, by the way. I love that.
So, give me one more second, and I'm going to try to get my question back. This is sad, y'all, because she's actually one of the people who sends us authors, and I'm doing a horrible job on her interview.
Now, this is actually a really fun interview. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on the interview, but if you got to know me, I don't blow smoke. So,
oh my goodness. So we talked about doing ads. What can someone expect on like a good Facebook ad? Because I'm not gonna lie, Facebook and Amazon ads seem like the mystery algorithm that run in the back to take your money.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll tell you something. I don't dislike Facebook ads, but I think they're usually used for the wrong purpose. So Facebook ads should only be run if you're promoting something that is a limited time deal. So you're doing an ebook promotion that is only 24 hours and it's $1 off, whatever. Amazon ads, I love. I do a lot of Amazon ads. I'm proud to say that I'm actually an Amazon ads advisor. I send them a lot of ideas. Some of them they implement. I should actually get money because there's a lot of ways that I felt like Amazon was really sort of leaving a lot of money on the table with the Amazon ads. I love doing Amazon ads. The thing to know about them is that you do have to start out with a lot of keywords, right? Amazon ads can cost you a lot of money, but you can also cap it. So you can say, look, I don't feel comfortable spending anything over $200 a month. The thing about Amazon is that Jeff Bezos was an early investor in Google. And a lot of the way that Amazon works in terms of their algorithm mirrors Google, in that single keywords on Amazon won't get you anything. So if you're thinking about books that you have added keywords to on the back end, and you've used a single keyword like romance or mystery or divorce, it's not going to get you anything. Keyword strings are really the key to Amazon success. And the same goes for their ads. So if you're running ads with the keyword romance or mystery or something, you're just wasting money. What we know is that the more keywords that a consumer types into a search bar, be it Amazon or Google, the closer they are to a buy. So when you're running Amazon ads, using keyword strings is going to get you so much more exposure than just a single keyword. But I love doing Amazon ads. I mean, I really, really love them. And they're also good for organic optimization, which sounds a little weird, but they do help with your organic optimization.
I remember my question. It came back. I had to go out and send the horses, but it came back.
Awesome.
So my question was, how important are brands, building a brand as an author, and how important is the author's platform when making a new book?
So important.
Why?
Well, because first off, a brand, your brand is your promise to your reader, right? But the brand is also, if you have a book that is out there on Amazon and you send readers back to a website that doesn't look anything like the book, or it's kind of this weird sort of combination, it's a disconnect for the reader, right? It's a disconnect. The idea behind a brand, yes, it's a promise to your reader, but it's also this overall look that you're putting out there that looks cohesive, which is why sometimes I tell authors, if you have multiple books in a series, or even not even in a series, having them look not necessarily similar, but staying where you can tell that they're all under the same umbrella is going to benefit you in tremendous ways. Your platform isn't as complicated as a lot of authors, I think, feel, because platform and brand sounds overwhelming. Everything is your brand, whether you want it to be or not. It's the font on your website, the font on your book covers, it's stuff that you put up on social media. So be careful about that. Everything is your resume, right? Your platform can be your speaking, it can be, your podcast. It's your newsletter is part of your platform. Your blog can be part of your platform. All of that really factors in. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. So the brand is like everything you chose to be part of your, everything you choose to say pretty much is part of your brand in the public eye.
Yep.
The platform is everything that you use to say what you wanted to say in the public eye.
Right. Exactly.
So now it comes down to the good part where we have to talk about you and your services and what you have to offer to the author. So let's break this down into like one simple question. Can you give us 3 pieces of advice that you feel that every author needs to know when they're thinking about marketing a book or after they market a book or after they've written the book?
So I would say that the first thing, which is one of the biggest mistakes that I see authors make, is they don't really know their genre. You have to pick a genre. And that could actually be point 1, 2, and 3, not to be a cheater here, but the biggest mistake that authors make, aside from, not having a good book cover, which would definitely be on that list too, is they don't really know their genre. That's a huge, or they haven't picked one. Like, well, I'm just going to make up a genre. So until you become a national best-selling author and the Today Show can't wait to have you on, you're not allowed to pick a genre. You have to find an existing one, because it's an easier way to market, right? I think your book cover authors, so often there's a lot of really easy ways to do a do-it-yourself book cover. And every time I see that, it makes me cringe. So, your book cover is definitely really, really important. The other thing to know is that 95% of books are sold word of mouth. So you want to focus on your fan base, build your fan base, communicate with your fan base. Goodreads did a study a number of years ago and found that the number one thing that readers want to do at the end of the book is to connect with the author. So make sure that there's a great, segue to make that happen.
Thank you so much. Those are some great things. In fact, one of those I was like, I need to work on, which is funny because a reader told me that one day. She came up to us and she says, well, I enjoyed the book, but I had to wait until you showed up in my town to meet you. Could you just like put the website in the back?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it feels too pushy. And now I'm like,
you got to do it.
Oops, my bad.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to do it. Yeah.
That was a good idea.
Yeah.
So if you like my books, they will soon have a website in there. So you can connect with the author. Okay. Where can people find out more information about you and find out about the packages? And wait, do you do packages or is it per an individual basis?
It's on an individual basis. We have strategies that we like to use. And you can find us at amarketingexpert.com. We also have a blog and a book marketing podcast. But we do, everything is very custom. So we have strategies that we like doing Amazon ads and Amazon optimization and Goodreads and influencer pitching and media and stuff like that. But it's very different depending on the author, the goals, and the book genre.
Okay. Now, can you tell us again where we can find that book? Where we can find about your book promotions?
amarketingexpert.com is where you can find out all about our services and our blog, which has a lot of information on it too.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank you so much for being here with us, Penny. It has been an absolute delight. And I'm saying I have so much work. I have homework. And believe me, I don't like having homework because the homework is writing the darn book.
I know it. But get out there, man. Get out there and start pitching the divorce story because it's a great opportunity.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be doing that.
Yeah.
Are you joking? Woo-hoo. I've been looking for my May angle. I was like, it's about that time, y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So great. I will definitely be pitching. You can find out everything that your ladies are doing at www.andithoughtLadies.com. And when you go there, go down to the middle of the page and you can see the charities that we proudly support. We ask you that you please help them out too, because this is hard times for everyone as we rebound. So, they need some assistance. We thank you in advance for that. Remember that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona and the Missing Jade. Oh, yeah. Thanks for listening.